Hey, welcome to the Nacho Show today. And today is April 21st. This is season 3 of the awesome Nacho Show. So the left keeps striking and they have no shame whatsoever. Somehow they are being allowed to sneak into our schools and publish pornographic books into libraries, and teachers and school board members do not seem to care about this. This is very outrageous, and and are we going to allow this? How do we stop this? This and more at the Nacho Show. And today we have a very special guest, and her experience that she has in regards to this will definitely surprise you. And obviously, 2022 pretty much almost is not very surprising on how the left is acting. So I will go ahead and bring up Michelle Lee. How are you, Michelle?
Hi, Ignacio. I'm great. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks so much for being here in my show. And the reason why I brought you in here is because you are part of this wonderful group of sisters, and we've had them here in this show, in other episodes, and you guys do a terrific job at defending liberty and defending our Constitution, and I salute you for that.
Thank you.
So,
You are so sweet. Thank you so much. You're doing amazing things. Thank you so much.
oh,
There's a lot
thank
of
you.
great people stepping up right now. It's great.
Absolutely, yeah, and we cannot be the silent majority anymore.
No.
We cannot just be on our couches watching TV, and yeah, we cannot do that anymore because our country really needs us, and we really need to stand up for freedom.
Yeah.
Now, something that I have seen a lot lately is the fact that the left really wants to um, introduce their agenda and everything like that through our children now, through the educational system of our country, and it is very outrageous and perverted. And I'm going to say that very out loud and vividly because that's what it is.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
unfortunately, a lot of people they agree with that in the left. And I'm not gonna say, and I'm gonna say this with a lot of responsibility. There's people of faith that do agree with that.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Right.
So, and Michelle, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience, and then we will go ahead and proceed with this topic.
Okay, thanks. I'm Michelle. I have 4 children. We've lived all over the country. We live in Idaho right now. We'll be moving to Utah in a few weeks. So we've seen
Yeah.
this. I'm so excited. I know. We've seen this agenda. We've seen these curriculum changes. We've seen it all over from a lot of different places, and it's just shocking what's happening. I made a video. I think you mentioned earlier. I made a video when I went to our public library and checked out a bunch of books in the children's section, and made a video about what I found because it was just really sexually explicit grooming, pedophilic grooming, LGBTQ indoctrination as in like preschooler age. And so I made a video about that, but since I've made that, I have seen so much worse books out there and books that are available in schools, and it just gets worse. So it's now is the time to be just extremely vigilant.
Absolutely, and so I'm glad that you're moving to Utah. You're moving close to family, right? Because all of
Yeah.
your family is siblings and whatnot. So let's go to the nitty gritty of this. You posted this video that you mentioned, and I watched the whole thing, and I started to tremble really of nervousism. And the reason why is because how are you going to teach that to children? children need to be children.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I was going to mention is that, when you're 18 plus years old, it is your responsibility to be whatever you. I mean, if you want to be a plant, if you want to be an elephant, if you want to be
Yeah.
whatever, or if
When you're an
if you
adult. Uh-huh.
when you're an adult, you have the liberty to go and do as you please. Seriously.
Right.
But when you are in kindergarten, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You cannot tell a child that he can be homosexual or everything like that. But the left excuses those fallacies, stating that it's just because they need to be nice to others and they need to be
Mm-hmm.
inclusive of others. So that's their justification, which is very ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking to my mom yesterday about this same thing, and she was shocked. She was
Yeah.
shocked about this, and she's not. My mother lives in Mexico because that's where I'm from. My parents are still down
Mm-hmm.
there, and I mean, she's a person of faith, but she was just telling me how ridiculous this sounds. And the fact that why is this being permissible in our school system now? With the Disney story, like I am a I don't know. I love Disney. I grew up with Disney and everything like that. And now, they have their parks and whatnot, their products. They're awesome and everything like that. But now they're defending this nonsense,
Yeah.
and it's just ridiculous how these things are going. So you mentioned in your video, and you showed a couple of pictures
Mm-hmm.
there, and then can you go over your experience, and I also understand that you took your kids off of school, and
Yeah, a
you're
couple years
starting
ago,
to.
definitely. Yeah. I thought about it for a long time, felt like I should for a long time, and I just kept thinking, I'll do it later, I'll do it next year, next year we'll homeschool, and we just had just too many things happen. And Friday, something how a child gave my one of my children a note at school that was just so graphic and horrible, inappropriate, coming from another child in the school. Even I'm like, these kids are getting groomed everywhere, because this poor child who gave my child a note, just it was like this extremely sexually explicit, horrible thing that no child should know these words or should know about this. And I saw the note that my son came home and handed it to me, and I was like, we're done, that's it. So I pulled my kids out Monday morning, went and called the school. I was like, we can't do this anymore. um we're done here. But I think, so you mentioned I showed pictures from the books that I found. I knew I had to show pictures because, first of all, I didn't even want to say the words that I found in these books. I didn't want to say it on camera. I knew I should have made this video, but I drug my feet about it for a few weeks because I was like worried about saying these words on the internet because it's terrible and I don't talk like that. So I didn't
Right.
want to be saying it. And so I knew I said, I read passages and I showed pictures from these books that children are seeing that are just so graphic and horrible, horrible sexual things our kids do not need to know about. Um, and so, and then also, like, there's moms all across the country bringing books like this to school board meetings and reading passages, and the school board is shutting them off. And they're like, "That's inappropriate. Don't read that here." And we're like, "That's what you're giving our kids. Our kids are seeing this. Our like fifth graders, our first graders, our middle schoolers, they're seeing this and reading it, and I can't even say it in your school board meeting." In fact, I want to tell you something, Ignacio. I've
Hmm.
been posting. There's a wonderful Facebook page run by this amazing woman, Brooke Stevens. It's called Laverna in the Library, where she created this
Hmm.
page where we can post. Parents can go on and post pictures and sections of extremely pornographic books that clearly violate the Utah Pornography Code. We can post
Wow.
pictures of it, and then other parents, we go on and check our district websites and our school websites and be able to say it's available here, it's available here, so parents can go in and say, hey, we need this book out of here. um, anyway, I have some screenshots of illustrations from books for children that are in school libraries that I have been reposting on Facebook pages where people are like, this isn't happening. That's not real. You guys are making it up. So I'm posting pictures of these books and I keep getting flagged on Facebook for sharing it because it's pornography.
Of course.
Like, yeah, I'm like, this is so crazy. This is not okay for our kids. If parents read it and we're shocked and horrified, it's not okay for our children. And like you mentioned when you said, this is happening so young and happening in schools and happening to kindergartners, like a 5-year-old will believe whatever
Right.
we tell them to believe. And if we tell them, you know what, the reason why you're so upset and you're having a bad time is because do you ever think you might actually be a girl? You might actually be a boy? Like saying those kinds of things to a 5-year-old and to think that doesn't impact them and that's not being parent led in a lot of cases is just it's crazy to think that. It's really hard, crazy what's happening to our kids right now.
Right, and it just, I don't know, you can definitely see the hypocrisy of the left. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they're spreading those books out, in the school systems and everything like that. But then when you report it, I mean, it's flagged,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
and yeah, you don't even know what to think anymore, or how to report this, or anything like that. And it's just amazing to me on um, how this is being handled. And I don't know, school board members are I don't know, are they being innocent? They don't know what this means, or they think this is just purely political. I mean, it just doesn't make sense anymore.
yeah.
um,
I've been shocked at the amount of parents and school employees and teachers who have publicly defended this. And
wow.
if you see it with your own eyes, it is indefensible. It is straight up pornography. No other way, another way to describe it. And if you want proof, go to that Facebook page I mentioned and scroll through, and you can see what's available and what's out there, and what a lot
Mhm.
of teachers and librarians and principals and parents are defending and saying, well, our kids need to learn about this. If they don't learn about it here, where else are they going to learn about it? I'm like, how about not on our taxpayer dollars at school? How about not there? But I will tell you, there are great teachers out there that will not teach this. There are, my child's school right now, they have an amazing librarian. There was a book in the library that I thought was
Mhm.
inappropriate. I showed her and she's like, oh, that's terrible, let's get that out of here. And she's great. So they're out there, but the vast majority, I want to say, as parents, you cannot sleep on this. It's crazy. You've got to be so hyper vigilant. And I think one of my sisters mentioned on your podcast that at the meeting for the National Association of School Librarians, they had their national meeting in Salt Lake City last
Oh.
year. And at the meeting, they
Mhm.
stood and they chanted in unison, I am a school librarian. I will fight for social justice. I'm like, that's what the takeaway is right now. That's their main job description for as a whole. I'm not talking about individuals because there are good individuals out there, definitely. But as a whole and as an organization, if that's what you are seeing as your main purpose, that you're going to be a social justice warrior to fight for social justice. They talked all about how they've got to keep these books about CRT in schools. They've got to keep these transgender books to help the kids who are struggling. And the thing, like, it's just they want they have this whole other agenda and whole other goal. And they talked about how as school librarians they have so much more influence than they realize. They're like, don't forget, you have more influence than you know, so use your influence on these kids.
Mhm.
And so as parents, you've got to know there are people out there who feel like they have ultimate influence and they are using it. And if it's something that's not okay with how you parent or your core values as a family, then just know that it is getting in your kids' heads and it's going to have consequences. So it's yeah,
Definitely.
it's
Definitely, and it is very alarming because what the left wants, they just want to indoctrinate as much as possible. You know what they say, start them young.
yeah,
That's what the left. I mean, they're smart. They're
yeah,
smart, and there's a scripture. There's a scripture out there that, and I'm sure you know it, and it goes that, be thou wise as serpents.
mm-hmm,
Because how is the serpent, you know who the serpent is, the
mm-hmm,
devil is the
yeah,
serpent. He's the same serpent that beguiled Adam and Eve in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what he wants to do. He beguiles, or he lies and seduces the human beings into follow him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
so so think about this analogy. You know how Adam and Eve, before they ate from the forbidden fruit, they were innocent.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know they were naked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that the devil wants to do with our children. They're innocent. They don't know anything about sex,
Yeah.
and they should not know anything about sex.
Yeah.
Now, what the devil has influenced in the left is the fact that if they are innocent, then their innocence will be taken away by teaching them these stupid principles or stupid ideologies, and then they will grow up with that, and there will be, we have a lot of people that struggle with these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Even after 18 years old, there's this is an epidemic, even worse than any virus that we have encountered
Yeah.
lately. So it is just amazing to me that there's people that really follows the spirit of the devil, defending this dumb ideology of teaching uh, this to the kids in order for them to be nice, or in order for them to be like inclusive and things like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to tell you something very important. Like the most inclusive individual in this world was the Lord Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you that flat out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because he never expelled anybody from around him. He welcomed everybody to come and repent. And that's the reason why, he
Yeah.
was, inclusive of everybody. So he,
Yeah.
he loves us no matter what. Sorry, you were going to say something.
I'm sorry. I could have. He loves everybody, and he didn't lie to anybody to make them feel good. He didn't say that's okay that you're sitting like that because it's who you are and it makes you happy. I mean, like I'm just calling it like it is. Like he loves everyone. Our Savior loved everybody, and of course we want to love and um, care for everyone and treat everybody with respect. I'm just talking about here protecting little children because like you said, this happening, they are indoctrinating, schools are indoctrinating our kids, and this is not happening even at a school level, school board level, district, statewide. This is the top down. This is happening federal government down, and even higher up than that. It's a big dark agenda right now, but this is how revolutions start. You
Yeah.
teach these kids, you teach these 5-year-olds how to think, and if you expose a child to these ideals and these ideologies before they're emotionally ready to accept it or ready to understand it, that forms the way that they think about things, that forms the way they see the world, the way that their brain works. Like it's very dangerous and scary, and these CRT, SEL types of things happening in school, that really the main goal is really to just raise little activists, little radicals that are going to fight for these social justice causes that have been so ingrained in them since kindergarten. To understand that they want to teach that we come from a system of oppressed versus oppressors, and we've got to fight back against it. And they want to mobilize these kids into action to actually fighting back against the social justice ideals that they're planting in their heads. And if we're not on top of this and careful, I mean, this can happen. I talk to parents who are like wonderful parents, like such strong religious conservative parents that are really smart and on top of things, but they tell me like I lost my child in a year to this ideology. Like one year
Well,
school, 8th grade year, 9th grade year, whatever it is, to TikTok, social media, friends, the agendas at school, the curriculum, like in one year, and now they're this like little activist, just completely changed person that's so confused and so depressed, and it's scary, and we've got to just be one step ahead, like you're saying.
Excellent, and that is fantastic. What you guys do. As far as the activism is concerned, and I've said this before, is that we have to go and fight. We
Mhm.
cannot just we can no longer be the silent majority anymore.
Yeah.
We have this it's just a handful of people. It's just a handful of people that they have lots of tentacles,
Yeah.
and they reach out to like to everything, and they have these influences that it's just not even fun. And we need to keep our ground seriously. And another thing that I was going to find out, that I was going to actually ask you here, Michelle, now that you are here in the show, is that since when have you started seeing these books in the libraries?
It was first brought to my attention. So, my dad's on the city council in Orem. His name's Terry Peterson. He's a councilman that he had people that he represents contact him and say, "Hey, you've got to go check out our public library because in the month of June they had this display for children that was very sexually explicit, introducing sexual topics to like preschool aged kids on a big display for Pride Month." So they said, "Please, can you go check this out and see what you think?" So my dad went and looked at it and found that he thought they were inappropriate as well. So he wrote a letter about it, and um, or yeah, wrote a letter, a statement about it. He talked to the librarians, and librarians were very defensive of it and wanted to keep it in there and felt like it was beneficial to have these sexual topics for children. Um, so my dad wrote a letter, and then that went. The left came after him crazy. There's the hit
Wow.
piece of the newspaper and just calling him every bigot and just every name you can think of, and then from there, I think uh, as far as I know, like more people start. So then, like me myself, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna check these books out. I'm gonna read it for myself. What I found was terrible, terrible. And I know that we can make we do have LGBTQ youth that do need good resources, absolutely, and we love them and we
Mhm.
support these kids, and they do need good books. But these were not it because the books I was reading for kids, I'm talking about like middle schoolers that are LGBTQ. The books that I was reading was saying if your parents did not react, and I have pictures of this in my video that you can see, you can read for yourself how the book says it. But if your parents did not react the way you wanted them to react when you came out, cut them off because they do not deserve to be in your life. And it says your pastor didn't react that way, cut it off. And it says a really great resource for you is to watch gay porn. That's a great resource that will help you understand your new identity and your new life. And like even more
Oh,
than that, it went I don't know how much I should say on the air, but it's graphic and it's bad. And these were the books that are in our libraries that are saying, so if we have a child who identifies LGBTQ, who is feeling lost and needs some help and guidance, and these are the books they're finding, can you imagine telling them cut off your support system, your church, your family, and just like that's not the right message. Like we want them to stay close to their support systems, to know they're loved and valued, and to find the right resources. So anyway, sorry, I see these books, I check them out, make the video, and then see so many other parents, amazing parents stepping up, finding these books and publishing them, showcasing them. But I just want to say again, like my video is tame. It is tame compared to what I've seen since then. And what is
wow.
actively in schools, being promoted in schools. And there are schools in Utah that have removed them from their shelves and then a few months later put them back on the shelves. So that doesn't happen on accident. There are people actively making that decision to put that there. There are people making the decision to have them in the schools in the first place. And I just want us to be really aware of that, to know that this is an actual planned, um, you know, agenda.
Right. Wow. I'm just astonished of what you just mentioned. And it is super scary, what is going on, that they want to indoctrinate our children. And, those in charge of the school districts, they should be ashamed of themselves,
Yeah.
seriously, of what they allow in our schools. Now, I know that you are a person of faith as well,
Mhm.
and everything. And I definitely commend you for what you do. Now, we go to church and everything like that, and we understand about these situations, about the LGBT community. It definitely, gosh, um, it's hard, for us, to try to accept, and love the sinner, but hate the sin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that has been considered. I don't know. It's difficult for others also to kind of like to understand that concept of love the sinner and reject the sin, basically. And it and also I think I feel a little guilty, or maybe I shouldn't, because there's people that are just way 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 too religious, that reject the actual individual. But like I said in the beginning, the Lord Jesus Christ never rejected anybody. He
Right.
made feel everybody welcome. So that's my point that I want to make is that you can, regardless of who you are, you can still make somebody welcome, even though they do not hold the same values or morale
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
as you do. But then, just keep things neutral, and help the individual, for the individual to come to Christ. That's my point here.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had an episode with Ryan Woods. He is he's a drag. He
Yes, I know.
cross dresses. Yeah, he's fantastic, and we had a fantastic episode
Mm-hmm.
where the person that comes out, like, struggles, but then we just need to try to understand the individual, not the actual sin. Does that make sense? So I don't know. It was quite interesting, but the point that I want to make here is that yeah. So as adults, like I said, it is our responsibility, and it is, we do what we do, in closed doors, whatever. But that shouldn't come out, like I try to conquer the world in the name of being nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I
So
think it's important. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead, sorry.
I really like what you said, and I think it's important to remember that each of us are sinners, and each of us, like, we are all sinners, and we all need um God's love to encompass us and to use the atonement in our lives. Like, each of us need that. And I agree with you that absolutely we want to love everybody, just as our Savior loves everybody. Completely agree. I'm and Yeah, I want to make that distinction, that, like, what I'm talking about here is, like, just leave the kids out of it and let them
Yeah.
make their decision that they want to make when they're old enough to make that decision. And I wrote a post the other day. I was in Walmart, um, and just grocery shopping, and I walked by the children's section. I see a bunch of pride shirts for children. Like, the smallest size was extra small, that fits like a preschooler, like size 4 to 5. And the shirts say, like, pride and love is love, and LGBTQ ally. And and then one of them says, I dream in rainbow. And I just thought, like, this is representing a sexuality. Like, if you're going to put this on a child, they're advertising a sexuality. And I'm not saying we should teach our children not to support or love people. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we don't need our children to walk around advertising literal sexuality on either way, gay or straight. I don't want
Mhm.
like sexuality of any kind pushed on children or promoted to children. So I wrote a post about it, and it got good support, and then it got shared in some, like, crazy groups, and I had like thousands and thousands of comments in a few out like a couple in like a day's time, telling me to go kill myself and blah, like, just the meanest stuff,
Wow.
just violent things. And I was like, if you read the post, I said I don't want sexuality of any kind. I am not anti any person. I'm saying these are children, and we don't need to have preschoolers wearing these shirts, and especially one that's for a 4-year-old goes down to size like 4 to 5, and this shirt says, "I dream in rainbow." And I was like, okay, if you're telling us, I don't know, like, if you're telling us that like rainbows represent homosexuality, is the shirt saying children are dreaming of homosexuality? Because I don't know what else it's supposed to mean. So like all I'm saying is like, let's not sneak this stuff into our kids and onto our kids, and they're too little. There's no such thing as an LGBTQ child, because there's no such thing as a sexual child. Children aren't sexual. They should not be. So they shouldn't have a sexuality at all. And I know that in my nieces and nephews in Utah in school, they have had assignments where they've had to state their pronouns. And I know my nephew had an assignment once where he had to check off his sexuality, fill a bubble about it. And I was like, if you have a child that's questioning, that's not sure, that's trying to figure stuff out, that's confused, and then they have this school assignment where they have to make a choice right then and there, like, what are you? No, why are we doing this to our kids? Why are we putting them in these boxes? Like, why can't we talk about, let them focus on their worth as an individual, and that their acts dictate who they are and not their sexual attraction? Because your sexuality of any persuasion is not who you are. You are a child of God, and your acts and what you believe in and what you stand for and what you do, that is who you are. And so I just think co-opting that whole message of this is who you are, I think that's dangerous for kids. I don't want straight kids thinking this is who I am, I'm straight, this is like everything about me. No, that's not who you are. Is like, that's not your whole identity. Like, I just think that our kids are getting some really harsh messages from everywhere. Oh, I can't hear you. Just a minute. Sorry.
Okay, there you go. I was
I'm so
mute.
sorry. My
I
phone
was
cut out. I
mute.
couldn't hear you for like the last minute. Oh, you were mute. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
So
say it again.
one thing that I was going to mention is that our governor Cox, and he actually was on Fox News. I don't know if you saw that report, that he was in an interview with a schoolgirl, and that was via Zoom, and then he was telling her what his pronouns was, and he thanked the girl for sharing her pronouns with him, because Governor Cox.
Oh, you're talking about Governor Cox? Yeah, my phone cut out. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was shocking. He was talking to a room full of children. That was shocking.
Yeah, and I'm like, how in the world a governor of a nice conservative state uh, really surrenders to the woke ideology? And gosh, it's just very, very disgusting and perverted. And I have no respect for him anymore whatsoever. I used to like him a lot, and he speaks Spanish. He went on an LDS mission to Culiacan, Sinaloa, in Mexico, and he speaks good Spanish and everything like that. But now that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore, because we saw that, and also we see people, from our faith, and not just our LDS faith. There's other individuals, from other faiths that have fallen for that stupid ideology, and and you cannot serve two masters.
Yeah.
You really cannot. I mean, you're either pro the kingdom of the Lord here in the earth, or you're not. So it's very concerning to me.
I agree. And I think in our pursuit of acceptance and love, let's not lose the importance of truth. Truth can't be can't like go by the wayside here, because it's so important not to lie to people. Like, we want to so much of these things our kids are learning is not real. It's not true. Men can't get pregnant. They can't. It's just, that's not real. Like, we can't keep lying. It's not loving to lie. I don't think it's loving to lie. I think it's the most important thing we can do is to tell the truth. And I think telling the truth is the most loving thing we can do as well. If we really want to love people, we don't lie to them. I don't lie to the people I love. That's not loving. That doesn't help anybody. I think that's just so important to yeah, remember that.
Absolutely, and yeah, we really need to make sure that we keep standing for truth, because that's what we're being taught. If other individuals they fight against truth, then
Mm-hmm.
they're really serving the enemy, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking about the enemy, the enemy is fearless, and that the enemy does not put their guard down at all, and that's the same thing that we should be doing as well. And
Yeah.
I applaud you for what you have been doing, and you have been fantastic.
Thank you.
Uh, and I encourage you to keep doing it, because our country really does need us. And this I say, every time I have somebody, I will stand with you, shoulder by shoulder, to fight for truth, and to keep the United States of America a sweet place to live, a sweet place
Yeah.
to raise our children, and to continue what our forefathers intended,
Yeah.
to have here in the United States of America. Now, another thing that I was mentioning to my mother yesterday when I was telling about this is that uh, right now at this point, anything as far as being conspiracy theorist is concerned, I mean, it's not. I mean, you can't. You know, the reality actually surpasses fiction.
Yeah.
And that's a matter of fact, because I'm going to tell you one thing, and you can go to the Daily Wire. There's a documentary about how China is really infiltrating our government, and it's
Mm-hmm.
infiltrating our sports.
Mm-hmm.
And their only mission is to destroy America's culture.
Mm-hmm.
And me, I'm an immigrant. And what attracted me to the United States of America is their culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their
I
culture, the way business is done here in America, the way that Americans behave. And I'm an American already. I became a U.S. citizen
so
12,
great.
13 years ago. Thank you
Wow,
so
that's
much.
awesome.
And I did it the right way. I always have to brag about that everywhere. um, and I paid my dues and everything like that. But that's another content for another episode. Um, so what I really wanted is something different. I really wanted. I really wanted to be in a place where I can educate my children, as far as education is concerned, and have them grow in a place where uh, their politics are quite different, from the from where I came from. So, and it seems that it's just chasing me away. Chasing me around everywhere I go, and I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to be here in America, and that's the reason why I'm putting my foot down. Doing this show as best as I can, and fight for truth. And that's my mission. That's my mission, and that's what I want to keep doing. And yeah, I definitely appreciate all of those that have been in my show. Um, so so yeah, now that you're moving to Utah, so are you planning on keep homeschooling your children? Do you have any plans? Are you communicating with other people that are doing this?
I think that I will keep doing this. I just not the I've seen too much to feel like my kids are safe at school now. And it's interesting. I just you talk about faith. I really felt like I knew that God was telling me for like a year to homeschool. and I kept thinking like, okay, I'll do it next year, and felt like I was kind of like listening to that prompting a little bit. So I'm like, I'll do it. I'll just do it in the future. And I felt like, okay, this year I'll be really involved in the school system, and that will kind of take care of that need to homeschool. So I volunteer in the school twice a week all year. I go in quite a bit. I know the teachers, the staff. Um, but we just had incident after incident happened that was just so not okay with my kids, with a lot of like the other kids in school, stuff they were teaching them, stuff. Because
Mhm.
even if you feel like your school's completely safe, um, you still like other kids. It's so sad. Other kids are getting groomed or getting indoctrinated like other ways too, and they're just come. They'll teach your kids things, and it's just been really difficult. And something happened. We had an incident I mentioned on last Friday, and the second that happened, I just knew so strongly like I should have been homeschooling. I should have been doing this, and I made that decision right away. And as soon as I made that decision, I just had so much peace. Like I knew this was the right thing. This is going to be
Yeah.
okay. It's the right thing to do, and I I prayed because I needed help. I'm brand new to this. I am not a pro. I'm just figuring it out. I'm gonna make it work for us. I'm gonna figure this out. And so I've talked to a lot of people over the years that homeschool that have great advice, but I prayed that night. I was like, like I just really need help finding the right way to make this work for our family, and getting a path in this. And literally the next day, my kids wake up. I'm like, okay, what should we do? And I'm like, I don't have any curriculum in order. I just signed you out so quick. So we go to the library, and while we're there, I end up meeting this mom who homeschools, I was led to her. She gave me all the information I need. She had everything to help me. She's like, come over. I've got so many resources for you. I can show you. I can walk you through how we do this and this and this, and we've got this great like group and everything. And I was like, just felt like this is such an answer to prayer that I didn't have a solid plan. I knew I was supposed to do this. I signed him out, and I feel like God is just going to take care of this for us. And I really felt so reassuring to think that this is going to be the right thing for our family. And I want to say, like, I'm not. It's not about keeping your kids in a bubble forever that they'll never
Mhm.
like. I'm not thinking I can protect my kids from everything. I know that's not realistic, but it
Mhm.
is like the stuff they're learning at these young ages really will influence them for life. Influence
Yeah,
like the way they're first introduced to these topics can be so framing for the rest of their lives, how they view it and see it. And so I just know so strongly, like right now the very strongest place for them to be is in my house. They can grow strong roots. I can teach them, love them. I mean, I'm not a teacher, but I'm their mother. I taught them their whole
of
lives, and
course.
I feel like I'm the best one to do this right now. So I'm super excited about it, and I think we'll probably be continuing it in Utah. Um, Hopefully, have a few more people jump on board so we can start our co-ops and stuff. So once I get down there, I know there's great homeschoolers there. I'm excited to connect with.
Absolutely. And I will be very happy to connect you to an organization of homeschoolers that they do an
Great,
amazing job. So
I
yeah,
love that.
I'll send you the information, and I really hope to get them on my next episode. So
Oh,
anyway,
good, great, thanks.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we are approaching to the end of our show. Actually, it was going to be kind of short here. I just don't want to keep you from doing what you're doing. But yeah. So my thing here is that parents are the best teachers. I
Mhm.
would say, are the best teachers. They know exactly, the children and their capabilities and things like that. It's just it's so much better, that way. I know I do have my children in schools and things like that, but we work with their teachers very closely. We work, we're very involved, in their lives, and that's our way, to do it, and that's how, we can protect them. But homeschooling is definitely a fantastic way. I definitely admire those that do. And yeah, I will encourage you. Like that will be the best decision to make because of how things are right now. So thank you,
It's
Michelle.
also.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Go
and
ahead. Go
also
ahead.
I'm doing this interview in my car because my house is a little bit louder now than it used to be. So I had to drive to the park, but that's the one thing. But it's still been great.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I don't blame you. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. Thanks to everybody for being here in the Nacho Show. And we'll go ahead and see you guys next time.
Thank you. Thanks
Uh,
for all you're doing.
You're very welcome.
See
See
you.
ya.
Bye.